How do you all feel about sexual assault as an issue on campus, and how do we address it on campus?
I think the campus has made some important strides in policy and decisions regarding sexual assault, and just the awareness campaign is really important. I think there's a lot of strides to be taken, but I think it's definitely moving in the right direction.
So I feel like the college should do more. I think we have a lot of preventative measures such as campus escort to try to help to prevent it, but they haven't really had speakers or anything like that talks more about it. So I would like to see that more.
I think that there are visible groups like 1 in 4, and that's really important to have, but it is definitely a problem. I think there's some atmosphere in different places that really makes a joke of the situation, and that's very inappropriate, especially when it comes down to the fact that a lot of women do go through sexual assault, and it needs to be taken a lot more seriously, which is why it's good that there's something like this going on that raises awareness for people.
Well, to be perfectly honest, I really haven't put a lot of thought into how the administration addresses it, which is kind of ridiculous considering just that it's an issue that needs to be addressed, but I just really, to be perfectly honest, haven't. I don't walk around really late at night. Actually, I do sometimes, but I generally don't walk around really late at night by myself in areas that aren't right on campus.
And I guess my perceptions of the dialogue on campus about sexual assault are very positive and almost too positive. I feel like a lot of people have felt like there's almost been too much of it, and there's been kind of maybe like a backlash on just talking about sexual assault, talking about the causes, talking about this, having sex signals last year, having very, very solid groups in every 2 minutes and 1 in 4, talking about this with the student body. And I think we really need to find kind of the right level where students feel comfortable, but where it's still continued to be addressed. And
I think that the volume is very important, and I think that also groups like SAP are doing a wonderful job to facilitate discussions in a very constructive manner. That Joey said that a lot of people feel, or a few people feel alienated by the discussion itself, but they're actively working to decrease this number of students on campus.
I mean, I think sexual assault is a problem anywhere. I think that the occurrence of it, as far as I'm aware, what I'm aware of as far as I know, is lower here than it is in other places. Though that doesn't mean it doesn't happen and I don't know about it. It's unreported, it's unknown. But I think beyond that, there's a lot of sexual assault that common society doesn't actually call sexual assault, and thus it's not reported, it's not known, it's not understood. And I mean, like, going out to the Leaf and hitting some girl in the ass, I mean, that's sexual assault. Like, most people are not going to report that. They're going to be like, oh, that's every day, that's whatever, but that's sexual assault.
I do think that sexual assault and sexual harassment are problems on our campus. I feel that they're problems on every college campus, though. I wouldn't say that it's any more so on William & Mary than anywhere else. So that's not to single out our campus. It's just to say that it's a problem with our age group, and especially at this time on college campuses. I guess William & Mary has, especially recently, started taking a very sort of progressive actions towards addressing this issue, especially since President Nichols' actions last semester, and addressing this concern for students. I think student groups on campus are doing a lot. Groups like Every 2 Minutes and 1 in 4 do work to educate our freshmen sort of about the issue. High school students who've perhaps never heard anything about sexual assault before, don't understand what it is, don't understand what date rape per se is. There's always more work to be done, though, and that's sort of why I was trying to think about some things, like specific ideas about what can be done, because of course there's always room for improvement.
I feel like there's a great dialogue in a specific crowd of people. I feel like there are people who talk about it and there are people who don't talk about it. I feel like on campus specifically there's a lot of talk about rape upon females, and I see that, and it is obviously more prevalent. What I think needs to be spoken about more is that 98% of rapes, I mean, I was told this by one Inform member, that like 98% of rapes are done by male aggressors. So that would include females and males, and I feel like what people don't know necessarily, that there is a lot of sexual assault in the gay community, and I mean, that happens a lot of the time, and we don't talk about that. That's not something we talk about, and I don't think it's something that people are prepared speak about?
General climate, I feel like a lot of times like men and women aren't comfortable talking about this together. Also, I feel like a lot of times, I think a lot of that stems from just the way it's all presented on campus. Like at freshman orientation, you have separate male and female groups like talking about what they view it, and I've never really coming together and talking about it, which is exciting because I think next year for orientation, I think they might be switching that up, or at least I know every 2 minutes has had a dialogue about this last week, like with both men and female there.
I know that most guys think about sex all the time, to greater or lesser degrees. There's groups like 1 and 4, which are very present on my hall. The guys kind of creep me out, to be honest, but because they all have this hungry look about them, but it's okay.
Can you describe that hungry look a little bit?
I'm sorry?
Describe that hungry look?
Like how males
Oh, well, not so much hungry maybe as I'm working to overcome something that I'm never going to actually overcome. And that's just a fundamental part of human nature, but I do appreciate what they're doing, and I think that on specific campuses it's having a really good impact.
It's so weird. Like, I'm an activist on this campus. I consider myself a very active activist on this campus, but I just have never really addressed that or really put the time into thinking about that. I mean, it goes into, I put that energy into other issues, I guess, which is problematic, I think. Not necessarily that I focus on one issue or a couple issues, but that the community of progressives on this campus isn't cohesive enough that kind of thought process of people who are similarly minded. Not that everyone thinks about issues the same way, but those sort of like opinions about things like sexual assault aren't more widely understood and spread within the progressive community. Like, it's surprising to me.
Seems like sexual assault is dealt with people outside of that community, which I think is weird in general. I think a lot of the members of 1 and 4 and every 2 minutes are people who I find sometimes do participate in the community, like going to the units and stuff like that. And I don't know, sometimes it seems conflicting, some of the things that they say and advocate for, and then wait where you see them.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, Liz is really involved in Vox, and that's sort of like an issue that fits in well with that sort of brand of progressivism, I guess you could say. And so you do definitely have thought about it a lot. But why have we never talked about it before? I don't know. It's very weird.
Yeah. And I think that sexual assault appears in all communities at campus, and I think I don't mean to focus just on the frats because
No, I certainly know it happens at like parties of friends of mine. Like it's happened.
Yeah.
And, like